Meeting of the Board of Education to order. Let's start off with a roll call vote. Roll call, just roll call. I'm here. Member Georgino?
Here.
Member Sneed?
Here.
Member Smith?
Here.
And Member Bell?
Here.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to our interim superintendent, Dr. Therosian. She is here, welcome, and we're happy to have you. We'll move on to item number 3, announcements. Tonight's meeting is being digitally recorded. And then we will move on to item number 4, Pledge of Allegiance, led by Member Georgino.
Thank you. Would everyone please arise and put your right hand over your heart? Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Member Georgino. We will move on to item number 5, changes to the agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda? No. All right. Hearing no changes, we will move on to item number 5. Item number 6, approval of the agenda. May I get a motion and a second for approval of the agenda?
So moved.
We got motion by
Second.
Member Georgino, second by Member Smith. We'll do the roll call vote because we're doing this virtually. I am a yes. Member Sneed?
Yes.
Member Georgino?
Yes.
Member Bell?
Yes.
And Member Smith?
Yes. Well.
Okay, so that motion passes 5-0. And we move on to item number 7, which is written communication. Do we have any written communication? No, okay. Public comment. Do we have any public comment on agendized items? No. All right, we will move on to discussion information portion of the agenda. Item number 9, we will be hearing from executive search firms and their presentations. And we are going to be starting off with Leadership Associates, who I understand Dennis Smith will be here presenting, I think, with a partner. So Andy will let them in. Hi, Richard. Welcome back.
Everybody, thank you. I'm glad to be back.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Okay. Welcome to Leadership Associates. I think we've got both on. Yes, we do. Welcome. We are going to go ahead and turn it right over to you to kick us off with your presentation.
Thank you, President Espinoza. Dennis, are you on as well?
I am. Can you hear me or yes?
Okay.
I'm here. Thank you, David.
Yes. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Dennis Smith and myself, we wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to present this evening. It's a real pleasure to share with you what we are all about with respect to Leadership Associates. A question I would have, and I know that Dennis is prepared to put up on our screen so that we can all see this, our various slides. Would that be helpful, President Espinoza?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay, then let me just,
A few seconds to do that.
yeah, just give me one moment to do it. Thank you for that opportunity. All right.
And once Dennis does get that up, President Espinoza, he'll begin with an introduction of himself, and then I'll follow.
Good. Is that available now for everyone?
Yes, we can see it.
All right. Thank you so much. Really a pleasure to be here tonight with you. And as David said, my name is Dennis Smith, and I'm the lead partner with Leadership Associates and been involved with the firm for the past 10 years, and I probably have done approximately 70 to 80 searches. And my background has been a superintendent in California and also Florida for over 26 years. And for the past 10 years, been doing this work, and then also work with school boards and mentorships across the state. David?
Thank you, Dennis. David Verdugo here, former retired superintendent of Paramount Unified School District, school district in LA County of about 17,000 students, very urban setting. Also, I was the superintendent there for about 9 years. Spent 6 years after retirement as the executive director of CALSA, the California Association of Latino Superintendents, and also worked out of Washington, DC for ALAS as the Leadership Academy director there in DC, where I coached and mentored aspiring superintendents across the nation. About 8 years as a partner with Leadership Associates and the former interim superintendent in Pasadena back in 2019-20.
Good, good. Okay, I'll move on. And so for the board,
Before you move on, Dennis, first
Yeah.
I wanted to
Oh, hi, Kathy.
welcome you. It's nice to see old friends coming in. So Dennis and David, thanks for being here. Dennis, I don't know if you could tell from your screen that you're still in you're not in presentation mode.
I'm not. What? Okay. Then what am I then, Kathy? Thank you.
You are the best, Dennis, but in this case, I'm not sure how to, I think there's a way to put it into presentation mode.
All right. And so we're not showing anything right now?
Now you're showing,
Just not full screen, Dennis.
yeah,
All
it's
right,
not the full screen.
Yeah, if you go up to slideshow, you can start your presentation.
All right. Thank you. I'll do that.
There you go.
I kind of
I want you to give the best presentation, but there you go. That's much better.
Thank you. I appreciate the help. And so there we go. Dennis and David now in full life, both in person and on screen. Thank you, Kathy.
Right.
I appreciate that. And so David, why don't you go ahead and continue on then? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kathy. I'd like to say that one of the most important features and services that we Leadership Associates can provide the board, the district, Ms. Montero, is the Leadership Associates Executive Assistance Group. We at Leadership Associates provide some very, very highly qualified executive assistants that are assigned to each search. And the two ladies that you see there, Serena Farrington and Penny Pyle, they are former senior executive assistants to superintendents. And Mrs. Farrington will be providing the service to Temple City. We provide comprehensive on-call support to board as well as district office members, guidance related to any Brown Act activities and requirements, board agenda protocols. But I think what particularly is important to point out is any personalized written guidelines and templates and sample documents and checklists that are really very helpful while you're in this process. And of course, we pride ourselves on the prompt and responsive communication. And again, as I mentioned, Serena Farrington would be the executive assistant that is assisting us in this one. We can go on, Dennis.
Yeah, and I just would add, David, that Serena is a full-time employee. So, and we're one of the few firms that do that. So she would work directly with your staff on all search needs and support.
And I believe it's Mrs. Montero who's the assistant to the superintendent. Okay, great. So I know that Marie would appreciate that as well. We recognize and we really commend a lot of the accomplishments that Temple City School District, Unified School District has obtained. And I know that a lot of these accolades and achievements are really amplified by not only the boards, but the employees' love and dedication to Temple City and the families and the students that you serve. There's absolutely no doubt about that. If I may for a moment, I know that your bios speak volumes about each and every one of the board members and trustees with respect to where you've been, what you've done, what your journey's been like. But these are just a few of the accolades that we recognize: the commitment to equity and inclusion, your academic success over the last years, really the LCAP and the vision, the goals, but maybe more important, the actions, your Parent Center, your Early Learning Academy, your Measure S bond that continues to provide assistance facility-wise, Temple City Schools Foundation, the parent bullying resources that you have available for your folks, really the integrity behind your core values of service, respect, and so on. And I know that you have several community partnerships as well. So we just want to make sure that we recognize those things and we realize where Temple City has been and where it's going. The next slide is an example or sampling of the searches that we've done here most recently. We have conducted about 68% of the searches are conducted in California that we've accomplished. particularly this past school year, 2022. We have completed over 550 plus California superintendents we've placed since 1996. We've done some of the nearby superintendent searches, Monrovia, for example. Kathy, very proud Monrovia retired superintendent. Brea Olinda, Glendora, Upland, El Rancho Unified, as a matter of fact, Whittier City Elementary, Wiseburn, and Tustin. And these are just a few, but again, we've conducted the vast majority of searches in the state of California this past year. The next slide, and I know that the board is anxious to get into some questions. The next slide is really a representation of a geographical snapshot of our reach. And I'd like to emphasize partners, which everyone on this slide is. We are not consultants. We really pride ourselves on the fact that we have a vested interest in our organization. And every week, ladies and gentlemen, every other week, I'm sorry, we maintain a partners Zoom meeting to share, to inform, to assist each other in referencing, recruiting, discussing candidates, and our respective searches that we would be involved with on any given date or time. So in reality, you not only have Dennis and I with respect to the process, but you have 16 other folks, 14 other folks that are assisting in this process with respect to recruiting and reference information up and down the state of California. This, I think, is an important snapshot, this particular slide. It really represents our outreach and ability to network. It's enhanced even more so through our communication and really direct connections with these important organizations that you see there bulleted. In fact, we have been responsible for some of the respective leaders of these organizations. In fact, in many of the cases, we have placed some of these folks in their respective places and spots. I would add, though, that we at Leadership Associates do not receive any fees or endorsement from any of these entities. All of these we've had some direct connection with, whether it's AASA, CALSA, ALAS, CASA. One that I have particularly worked with most recently, and I helped them as a result of my direct connection with CALSA with regards to their bylaws and so on. And it's not on this list, and I apologize, but that's the California Association of Asian and Pacific Leaders in Education. They're a fairly new group that has been organized and developed, and we take a lot of pride in the fact that we've worked with them as well. But again, rather than reading those, you can see a number of those associations that we've been associated with over the years. Dennis, I'll let you take the next ones.
Yeah, thank you, David. And we're going to kind of move through this so you have the opportunity to ask a lot of questions and just talk to us about what you have focused on in terms of this new leader you're looking for. But I would just go back just to this slide that David had mentioned. And one of the important pieces there is we don't know where the next leader for Temple City may come from. And so these are all the partners, and David mentioned it, that David and I will be primarily working directly with you, but we have all of our partners or owners in the firm who would also be actively engaged in this search in terms of recruiting candidates. It could be from the Central Valley, Northern California, the Southland. We really don't know that right now. And we don't have a group of candidates that are just waiting. We really recruit candidates based upon what you say is important in your next superintendent. So I'll just move on. And David, thank you for sharing what you did. So a little bit about Leadership Associates and who we are. As David said, we're a partnership, and our goal, we're passionate about this. We want to improve the quality of education. And we really believe in these three things: that, public education should be accessible to everyone, and it's a foundation to who we are as a democracy, and that leadership makes it just a profound difference in the quality of schools and in the outcome of students. And every district deserves a great leader. And that's what we believe in, and we value. Those are our core values that we live by: integrity, equity, excellence, diversity, inclusion, accountability, and transparency. And you'll see that in the processes if we're fortunate enough to work with you on this search. The other piece of Leadership Associates, and I think it distinguishes us, is that yes, we conduct, executive searches, and the most important thing, and in our conversation, we should talk about this. It needs to be tailored to what you need and what you want as a board. And the other aspect is, as a firm, we really work hard. One half of our firm is focused solely on engaging professional development opportunities for superintendents and boards. And we are in 8 counties across the state with over 200 superintendents on a quarterly basis. And so we work directly in terms of improving and helping with the quality of education and assisting superintendents as they work through the difficult issues of leadership. So we're more than just a search firm in that regard. And just in terms of the process, we'll go through this. The search begins and ends with you. You really work with us. You tell us what it is that you're looking for in a new superintendent. We talk through all of those issues, and then we go about then focusing on the community. And so we're involved in very extensive community engagement, and also an online survey. And we probably get as much great information on an online survey from individuals who maybe don't want to come to an individual meeting. But so we have online survey, and we have in person, and we do Zoom. So whoever it is that you want us to reach out to, it could be principals, confidentials, classified, foundation, we do that. And from that, we develop a profile that helps us understand better what it is that people are saying. But ultimately, we present that to you in terms of position description. And once you say you're good with that, then we begin to recruit off of that position description. And that recruitment is something that, when you saw that slide of all the our partners, we all recruit candidates, but we're really looking for people very often who aren't looking for a job. We're saying, hey, this is a great opportunity, Temple City. And so we pick up the phone and we spend a great deal of time with the individual recruitment of candidates. And then we vet those people so there's no surprises. And ultimately, the final piece is we present all those candidates to you. We've vetted each of those candidates, contacted their references and people who weren't even their references. And what's really important here is you have access to all of those applications. We provide those to you online ahead of time. So when we talk with you, you've had a chance to review all of their applications, their resumes, and then ultimately you make the decision of who it is you wish to interview. And then finally, that's the calendar. And this is really a draft calendar because with your superintendent and where you are, this is a fairly aggressive time frame. And there may be a little bit opportunities where when we meet with you as a group to decide the precise timeframes of this, but we think it's relatively reasonable to look at a September timeframe for a new superintendent or early October. But those are things that we'll work through. But we provided the timeline in our proposal to you too that's a little bit even more precise than this. So that's really concludes, if you will, our presentation. Just the final comments. Our search is your search. The fee's all inclusive. Just highlight what David said about our administrative team. We'll do a lot of this online in terms of the application, so you see that, but we're pretty high touch also. And I just emphasize that what's really important is, will you have a great group of candidates to look at? And so our track record has been the past 3 years, 67% of individuals that were selected by school boards were women or persons of color. So you'll have the opportunity to find the person who best meets what you're looking for and what you need in Temple City. And then finally, we're an experienced California firm, but we have a pretty strong national reach. And we bring candidates from out of state when that seems to be most appropriate. So that's our presentation to you. Hopefully we've done it in a timely way. And then we thought we'd just open it up for any questions and discussions that you have.
Okay. Board members, do we have any questions? Yes, Member Sneed?
I noticed reading through all your materials today that you do offer support for any superintendent that we choose. How how long do you continue the support?
We do it generally for the first year. We're really online and talking to the superintendent. We can do that longer as necessary, but what we find is that the new superintendents, many of them don't have the experiences. And so having the opportunity to have coaching and mentorships with individuals associated with the firm, primarily Dave and myself, would be helpful. So we do that through the first year. And if that's important going into the second year, we will also continue that.
Is that all? Is that part of the inclusive?
Yes.
Or is that extra?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
And
Member Smith?
yeah, does that include like monthly meetings, regularly scheduled meetings, or just on an ad hoc basis?
You know, what we generally do is sit down ahead of time with the superintendent and talk through what's the best, schedule for them. And, we're pretty open to terms of whatever the needs are. Sometimes that's in person, but most often it's just a listening ear, an opportunity to talk through issues. Primarily, I mean, it's pretty intense through the first 6 months to a year while their individuals getting their feet on the ground. And so we don't really put a time frame to it because we just want to make sure that individual is successful.
All right, I did have a question.
Melissa?
Yes,
Melissa?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I can't, my webcam isn't working. I'm sorry. But,
That's okay.
Sorry. So I just wanted to ask, how do you involve the staff and the unions in the selection process?
David, you want to talk to that?
Now, primarily, that would be considered one of the stakeholder input opportunities. We provide a template to the board that displays a wide variety of samples or documents, individuals and/or groups that you'd like us to speak to gather input, as we would, of course, initially with the board as well. Unions are very much involved, of course, in that stakeholder input, not only with their cabinets. By that, I mean their association presidents and their cabinet members, whether it's certificated or whether it's classified. We also have the opportunity to have individual calls and contacts with unions and so on. Teachers are certainly part of that group as well. So it does vary a little bit with respect to the opportunity to speak to them within their own association groups, cabinets and so on. But the template that we provide you is really a long laundry list of variety of stakeholders that you can check off and say, yeah, we want that group to be spoken to, or really we don't have that group here. There might be a civic group organization that doesn't exist there that we would cross off, of course. But the stakeholder input, as I mentioned, is available with us via Zoom, sometimes personally as well, should there need to be a community forum. And of course, as Dennis mentioned earlier, the fact is that surveys have become quite popular, and we've really obtained a high volume of stakeholder input there.
We've actually found it really a must to have these individual group meetings. We'll have them with the executive boards of the teacher association, of the classified group, the leadership. Then we have them as all the teachers as a group. They have the opportunity and classified, and then the different segments of the school community, whether it be the cabinet and principals and so forth. So that input's important, and then we provide that to you by groups. Actually, we will give you a summary of what the different groups were saying, and many times it's very, very similar, but you'll see some differences, and then we'll provide an executive summary. And that's the same with the online survey. A district like Temple City, we would probably receive over 1,000 responses. Could be from students, parents, community members. And so it's a combination of those two that give you a pretty good sense of where people are. And as far as unions are concerned, what we found is they just want to be heard. They just want to know that the board has sent an individual invitation to them to participate. And that generally, they have a pretty good sense of, okay, we're playing our part in this, and we're going to share our thoughts with the board through this input session.
And if I may, that executive summary generally is very important as a result of the strengths and the challenges that the district might be facing that the stakeholders are providing us information on. That executive summary can be utilized by the trustees, of course, and the new person who's selected in terms of a 90-day plan or a 100-day plan.
Thank you.
I had a question. Approximately how many active searches will the partners that will be working with us, how many will they be juggling all at one time?
That's a really good question. I mean, you're in a really good time frame. And so I know for me, and I think David also, I mean, this would be our primary focus over the next probably let's say 3 months. And I don't have any and don't anticipate any other searches at that point in time. David, how about you?
Yeah, President Espinoza, that is exactly the case with me as well. I've already finished the majority of any searches that I've been involved with during the last month. And Temple City Unified School District would be my only task in front of me for the next 3 months.
And just as a small aside, you know, one thing about David and myself, and we said we're partners, but between the two of us, I think we've conducted approximately 120 searches. And so one of the things that just to consider, I mean, we're very experienced in this. This is our passion. This is what we do. And so it's not something that, you know, we just come part-time to do, but we would be focused just on Temple City over these next several months.
Also, on the administrative aspect of it, the administrative team that you talked about in your presentation, and their support of with our board secretary, like how involved would they be in executing things directly versus handing off to like our person, which is Marie Montero?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Serena, we have all of the templates, the wording for postings and all of those things. And so, you know, it's sort of a team effort, I guess I would have to say. We provide all the support, the templates for that. And I think the superintendent's administrative assistant, the primary responsibility they have is when we begin the scheduling of the input sessions. That's something that we can't do as well. And so we work closely with the administrative assistant because of all the emails and the communications, but we do it. But I think to answer your question, and we'd love for you to check with any of our references, I think anybody would say that our staff provides just enormous support for the administrative assistants so that they can do their job. But there are some things that only that individual can do. But I don't know another firm that has a full-time person just dedicated to the support of the office staff.
It's almost too bad that we don't have recommendations on file from the administrative assistants of the various school districts. It's really phenomenal.
Yeah.
Their feedback to us with respect to the assistance that we provide them. I would add that the other department that plays a big role in the logistics would be your tech department as it relates to the survey and so on, the arrangements and the logistics for the Zoom calls, posting on your website, things of that sort.
Yeah, we handle the online survey completely, but the nice thing is that we work with your tech person, and then the link is on your page, and so people click on that, it goes to us, and we process that. So we have a connection, David. That's a great point, with your IT person and with the administrative assistant, your executive assistant. But it seemed to have worked really well in all the searches we've done. We've not found people have sensed they've been overtaxed by this.
Excellent. Does anyone else have any questions? Member Smith?
Yeah, I have a few more. Have you ever been in a situation where you recruited somebody for District A that you previously placed in District B?
Yeah, we don't do that. We will not recruit anyone that we've placed in a district to another district. we won't make that recruitment. Now, someone may apply. We can't stop that from happening. So someone may say, well, we place it and they want to apply. And we'll always say, we're not recruiting you. You need to notify your board president. We can't stop you from applying, and it might be a good opportunity for you, but you need to notify your board president that you're interested in applying for that position. But I think you make a great point. We don't want to move people around from one position to another. We owe it to you to have you have a quality leader there. And 5 to 7 to 8 years, 10 years is something that, research has shown makes a huge difference. So I hope I've answered that question, and we will not recruit anybody we placed.
I appreciate that. And what percentage would you say is the number of existing superintendents you place versus new superintendents?
I would only add, though, that this year particularly has been very unique, Mr. Smith, in that the high volume of vacancies, primarily, I believe, as a result of the pandemic, has been critical. By that, I mean just the numbers. And so I know that we have been involved in a wide variety of searches up and down the state. It appears to be settling down in terms of, again, vacancies. But I hope that answers your question. The numbers have been quite high. We've been quite involved, of course, in fulfilling some of those positions.
And as a lead partner, so I do, work with all the partners across the state. It's a good question. I mean, even Kathy might as she looks around, might kind of have an answer to that one. But I would say about 50% superintendents and assistant superintendents. And a lot depends on the size of the district. I mean, Temple City is going to be a very desirable district. It's a great location, a good history. It's 5,000 student range, and so then you have to say to yourself, who's going to move? Is it going to be someone who's a superintendent in a smaller district that might want to move there or move across? Could it be an assistant superintendent in a larger district? And so it's really hard to know. But I guess to answer your question, I might say about 50-50 recently about sitting superintendents versus, high quality assistant superintendents.
Okay. And one more question. You talk about should the superintendent leave after the first year, you would provide search for us going forward. How often does something like that happen?
Rarely. It rarely happens. I mean, that's why, just count on the number of hands that happens within the first year. I mean, it can be health issues, or it could be really something just didn't quite work right. And so, we will, we think the board and the superintendent, like we talked about, if you have annual goals and a review, it doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen within the first 2 or 3 years, actually. I mean, it can, but maybe a handful of times over the past 3 or 4 years, 5 years. It's just not a occurrence that we see very frequently at all. And I often think if that happens, we take some responsibility there. I mean, if the boards remain the same, somehow, you make the choice, but we also provide you with those individuals. So we have to take some responsibility in that too, but it's a very rare occurrence.
I think Dennis has often said it's the closest thing to a marriage that we've ever experienced, that relationship between a superintendent and the trustees, and we certainly understand that.
Thank you.
Excellent. Does anyone else have any questions? Hearing none, I thank you so much for joining us tonight and your presentation. We really appreciate it. And we will be discussing this in our next special board meeting next week. And thereafter, we can let you know.
Good. Thank you. We'd be honored to be a part of it. And we look forward to hearing back from you. If you have any other questions, just feel free to contact David or myself.
Absolutely, we will. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So next up, we have TCG, the Cosco Group. Good evening. I think we've got one on. Are we expecting two? Yes. We are
Yes.
expecting another person. Good evening. I
Good
think
evening.
Mhm. It looks like the other person might have dropped by mistake, and it looks like they're coming back in. Angie, by chance, do we have a person
Jan-
coming back in? Jan
Jan's
Bar-
on. Her video's not
Yes,
on.
we're there.
Oh, we are there. Okay, great.
Okay. All right.
Excellent. Okay, well, welcome to both of you. from
I'm not sure why
TCG.
my picture's not in there.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I want to welcome you both. And when you're ready, I'll just go ahead and hand it over to you to go ahead and start your presentation.
Okay. Well, first we would like to say good evening and thank you, Board President Espinosa and fellow board members. We are glad that we have the opportunity to present our proposal tonight on behalf of the Cosco Group. I am Jan Briggs and my partner is Dr. Tom Johnston. And this evening, we'd really like to begin by just really telling you about our core values. And we are partners in the Cosco Group, and our core values, and you will see this in every phase of the search, is trust, commitment, and guidance. And we feel like those are pretty powerful things when you're doing a search and you're trying to please a board and also get a good superintendent. You also, as Temple City Unified School District, have some excellent success record. You have really a lot of people in the community and parent involvement in your district. I think that was verified several years ago in 2012 when you passed a very big bond, and you've been working on that since then. In addition to that, you have dedicated staff with long-term connections to the district, and you have outstanding some academic achievement. I know that Cloverly Elementary just received a California Distinguished School. You have that Great Kindness Challenge Award. It's pretty impressive. And your high school did very well at the Science Olympia, rating the 16th school out of 203 schools. Very well
Really
done.
quickly, did you want to present your slide presentation before we jump in?
Yes,
Okay.
they said that that technician would do that.
Oh, okay.
I think we can do that.
Andy's gearing it up. He has it.
Perfect.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that if you were speaking from the slides that we had the opportunity to
We
take
are.
them. Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
One sec. Can you see our screens?
I can see, yes, I can. I
Okay.
can. Okay, so we are on slide 3.
It doesn't appear to be full screen.
We're on slide
There you
3.
go. There you go.
There we
Okay,
go.
great. And next slide, and next slide. Next slide. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and I'm Dr. Jan Britz, and I was former superintendent in Burbank and also assistant superintendent there before that. Why is this not coming on? Can he get that slide on?
There we go.
Oh, okay. Oh, Tom,
That
do you
would
want to
be
do
me.
yours
Probably
first? Okay, go
space bar
ahead.
for each bullet.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, so yeah, thank you, Jan, and thank you, Board President Espinosa and the entire board for giving us this wonderful opportunity to make the Cosco Group presentation and hopefully support you in the selection of an outstanding new superintendent. I am a 38-year career educator, having served in 2 districts, the Lenox School District for 28 years and Wiseburn for 10 years. I retired in June 2018 after serving 10 years as the superintendent of Wiseburn Unified School District. During my tenure in Lenox, during my doctoral studies at Pepperdine University, I focused specifically on parent involvement and even more specifically, parent centers in elementary schools. And I was able to present at the US Department of Education and at an international conference in Copenhagen, Denmark. I was assistant superintendent of human resources in Lenox for 10 years, an elementary principal, the director of curriculum and assessment in Lenox, and also an adjunct professor at Pepperdine University. I received several awards, including the Superintendent of the Year by AXA Region 14 and Pepperdine University. And I'm also a fluent Spanish speaker, having spent my junior year of high school in Caracas, Venezuela, and my junior year of college at the University of Madrid in Madrid, Spain. Next slide.
Okay, and I am Jan Britz, and I was the former superintendent and assistant superintendent in Burbank Unified School District. I spent 40 years as an educator before I retired, and I was in Simi Valley Schools for 23 years, and I had 3 principalships there. One was a junior high school, the other was a middle school, and then high school. I've done adjunct professor work at several universities, Pepperdine, CSUN, Cal Lutheran, and also at Moore Park College. I've been honored with several recognitions in education, which I'm very pleased about. And I also have been doing a lot of coaching with administrators, especially lately. Also principals, assistant principals, and superintendent. I've been working in secondary schools this whole last year as a consultant, just because of the shortage of administrators, really. So, next slide.
So one of the things that we're proudest of at the Cosco Group is the percentage of Cosco Group search superintendents who have served for 5 or more years. That's at 95%. I'm sure that is the highest in the profession. I'm proud to have been one of those. I served in, I was the product of a Cosco Group search and served for 10 years in Wiseburn. And the superintendent next door in Redondo Beach was also a Cosco Group search. And he's been there for 17 years and continues in that position. So why is it so high at 95%? Next slide. We seek the perfect match and tailor our search to the board needs. There's a laser focus on district criteria that we garner from the board and stakeholder groups, and our search is adapted to the district and board needs. We believe in full disclosure. There's continuous communication with the board, which would, if we were selected, start tomorrow and run for the next 2 months. We believe in an open candidate pool. We do not have a group of candidates that we try to put forth. We try to tailor and match our applicants with the specific needs of Temple City Unified School District. The other thing that's different about us is we have full applicant disclosure to the board. If we have 35 applicants, you're going to see 35 applications and the information there, not just the ones that we select for an interview and advance. You are privy to just a little bit deeper. The next slide. The secret to a long-term tenure of superintendents starts with a group of essential skills, but then unique skills that are unique to Temple City. So the essential skills: leadership, public relations, education and program planning, business and finance, and personnel operations. Those are skills that all superintendents need. But the unique skills are focused on district goals and objectives, the stakeholder needs, the community needs, and the board expectations. And what we're looking at is the overlap and the perfect match based on those two criteria. Jan.
Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. In our process, we have 5 phases, and our 5 phases, they may be similar to other search groups, but at the same time, there's some really details in there that we do that we feel is different, and that's what are the ingredients to success. The first phase is pre-recruitment, and this is where we will meet with the board soon, and then we will customize the process and look at all the details and also the timeline and make sure that works and see if we need to tweak it. The next thing we do is we work with the board at that same meeting and we do an initial needs assessment. And this is where we learn more about your district. You tell us what is working well, what's the things that you're proud about. You tell us about the challenges, maybe what needs to be looked at and needs attention. And then what are the skills and characteristics of a new superintendent you would like to see? With that, then we ask you to prioritize your answers. And maybe you use, we chart all that out and then you prioritize which ones you think are the most important. Then we talk about the stakeholder meetings. And with the stakeholder meetings, we do as many stakeholder meetings as you wish. So you would name the stakeholders that we would be meeting with. And when we meet with it, one of the things that we do is we do not have any sign-in. So people know that they're anonymous and they speak very frankly with us. In addition to that, we also ask them the same questions and we ask them to prioritize. And they see exactly what we're writing and that's going right to the board. So they begin with a lot of trust that you're asking them what they want and that they see that this is coming right to all the board members. And then we do an online survey as well. We review the assessment. And then again, we meet with the board and you get a whole report of a stakeholder of all the input from the stakeholders. You get to see that. You look at their priorities and you say, do we want to change them or do we want to keep the same ones that we had as priorities? So you get a lot of input right there to really kind of take into the brochures what it really works with. We take that, and after we have all that, we start writing the brochure. And the brochure is our electronic marketing tool to recruit people. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, phase 2 is where we finish the brochure. We will also send it to all our board members. We put it on your website, we put it on our website, and we distribute it with EdCal, EdJoin, as much as we can. We will publicize that. Then we will also give it to all of our TCG partners and ask them to give it to people that they think would be a good match for Temple City Unified School District. We start setting up as soon as that's we're advertising, we start setting up and maintaining all the files and the records. We do all the record keeping. And then we also deal with all the applicant communications. So if they send in an application packet and there's something missing, then at that point, we will call them and tell them this is what they need to turn in addition to what they've already done. So we do all of those communications. Then we set up a panel of experts, and those are our TCG partners, and they've walked in the shoes of a superintendent, so they know too what to look for that will be a good match based on the brochure and the information. And they will look at that and they will start screening them as well and rating their applications. Next one, please. On phase 3, we're reviewing, we're screening the applications, and we're getting initial reference checks. And we not only just call on some of the references that they provide us, but if we know some of the candidates and some of our partners have worked with them, we will call those people for reference checks as well. We want to get as much information as we can. And then again, the panel of experts will come back, they look at those. Tom and I will look at them closely and then we rate them and we make a report about that. once the window of opportunity to apply is closed, we copy all of the candidate files, everything they've sent us, you get to see. We bring that up to the district and we ask the board to review them and for you to actually list your strong candidates when you go through the application packets. Then we will get ready for the interview. And when we get ready for the interview, we bring you a whole chart of all the applicants. And on there, we also write some of the things that we are the most important things that we found out in the screening. And then if we have applicants that we found out something that we do not think that they would be of a good match with Temple City, we will write down what we found out about them too, because we want you to have some really good information when you decide who is going to come to the interview. And then you would select your highest people to come in and interview for the first interview. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. And then phase 4 is the interviews. So this is where we will work with the board and we will develop questions for those interviews. We will give you, by this time, we know a lot of information about Temple City. We will know some of the things that the board is interested in too. We will give you 20 to 25 questions that would be a good match for interview questions. Board members may come with questions of their own as well. And we actually ask to kind of come down to about 10 questions so that each board member can ask 2 questions. And those are questions that you select. You can wordsmith them if they're one of our examples. You can make your own, like I said, and those would be questions that you ask. We do all the phone calling. We let them know where it is. If the board would like to have a written question at the beginning, a writing sample, we can put that as the beginning of the interview sessions, whatever the board prefers. And we can also give you a writing prompt too and some examples. So we schedule and coordinate all the interviews. And then again, we will make sure that it goes smoothly. We help you with the timing. And then after that, we assist you to say, okay, now that we've done the first interview, who would we like to bring back for second interviews? And we try to get those to a low number so that you can really choose between these candidates, which would be the best match. Those are a little bit more informal, but again, we help you. If you want any questions at that point, you want to know more information about something, we'll help you with that too. And we do all the calling and the scheduling. Then we assist the board to come to a consensus of your finalist. And at that time, if we will contract an in-depth background review for your finalists and really make sure that everything is looking good. And we relay that to the board. We also will do a compensation study with similar districts and what the compensation is for the sitting superintendents now, if the board so desires. Phase 5. Next slide, please. On phase 5, we arrange to do a site visit if the board so wishes. We will make those arrangements in all. And we notify all candidates at that time of the decision. Then we assist with negotiation of the employment contract if so desired. Sometimes we can really help with the candidate to really come to where the terms are. And then we assist in the final announcement and arrangements if the board so desires. That means that we will write the announcement at the to announce at the board meeting or for your website or the local paper. We will also put it on our website as well. Tom, next slide, please.
So we know there's urgency to this search, and we have a proposed timeline that is really begins immediately and goes. And if you could go ahead and punch it one more time. So pre-recruitment would begin immediately and go through July 19th. The recruitment phase would be July 20th until August 19th. The selection of candidates would happen the 20th to the 28th, both the initial and any follow-up interviews to the point where we could do the selection, and the appointment August 29th, which would include the site visit and negotiate the contract in time for your first board meeting in September. And then the post appointment is up to 2 years. Again, this is something that we do with all Cosco Group candidates that are selected. We mentor them for up to 2 years. We also mentor the board if they want it. And again, we have the board workshop, but we this timeline would be finalized by the board, but we know that that there's some urgency here. So next slide. So again, what is it that makes us different? Our proposal is very cost effective. Our fee is all inclusive. There will not be any additional costs. That includes unlimited consultant time with the board and stakeholders, unlimited meetings with the board and stakeholders, and the ancillary support of all of our partners. And one of the things that also makes us unique is the Cosco Group is very committed. This would be the only search that Jan and I will do. We are basically all yours from now until mid-September. We have a 2-year guarantee on our search, and the selected superintendent with Cosco is never recruited. And that's one of the reasons why you see a 95% rate of 5+ years in a district. So next slide. So again, the all-inclusive fee, what exactly does that mean? A deeper look? All consulting expenses, all marketing costs, all clerical services and supplies, all applicant correspondence, the online English and Spanish survey, the comparative compensation study, 2 years of superintendent mentoring, the superintendent board workshop after a couple months on the job, and the employment contract assistance. Everything is included in this one proposal.
Can I ask a question there?
Yes.
You said the online English and Spanish survey. How about Mandarin? We have a very high percentage of Asian students in our district.
Yes, I'm going to have Jan answer that. I'm not aware. I've never been in a district where we did one in Mandarin, but Jan, do you know if we have that?
Well, I know that when I did Rosemead, we had to put it in a different language too. And what we did is we worked with the district interpreter to send those out and have them available for that clientele.
But that's a great question, and something that we would certainly work very hard on.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Next slide. What sets the Cosco Group apart? We feel like we have a lot of really good details that really make us different than other search firms, and also receive that successful superintendent that you are looking for. The Cosco Group does not have a stable of clients. We will not take the people that applied at our last search or the search before that and call them all in and say, okay, we have another search, apply. We actually look for somebody that's a good match for each district. Our team only does one search at a time. That's already been mentioned. No limit on the number of stakeholder groups that we will interview. Whatever number you feel like we need, we'll do. The longevity of superintendents is really outstanding for us to do that. The average number of years of current superintendent is not 5 years. So we have much more longer length of time with the ones that we place than is the average of our superintendents out there right now. We guarantee our search for 2 years. And that is if the superintendent does not stay there for 2 years, then we redo the search, and all we charge for is expenses. And that's like to advertise and like our printing costs. So we do not charge a fee for that. We do not create the recruitment brochure before the pre-recruitment phase is concluded, because we want to gather all of that information from the board members and also from the stakeholders. We will not recruit a superintendent that we placed in a district as well. Next slide. Our guarantees to you is that you are involved in every decision. You really drive this whole search. We are there to assist you and to service you. There's full disclosure on all applicants. If we get an applicant that we know is not going to be a strong superintendent, and what we will still do is give you that application. We do not just give you the ones that we feel are the ones that can get serious look at. We'll give you all of the applicants. And like I said, some of the searches do not do that. Board determines the interviews. We can give you a lot of information to help you decide, but we do not bring them to you and say, these are the ones that you should interview. That is your decision. You make the final choice. The selection of your superintendent will not be recruited. And we do, as I said, a free repeat search, if suitable candidates not selected. Free repeat search within 2 years if needed. Next slide. In ending, both Tom and I just want you to know that the magnitude of hiring a superintendent is the most important decision that you will make as a board. It is so important. And we know that there's so much research that just says, it's always the top person that has the most influence, especially in a district as well. So this is a really big decision for you to make, and we understand that. TCG is also committed to excellence. We will serve you and give you our very best. We've walked in those shoes. We know about the job, and we want to assist you in any way that we can. And again, TCG, both Tom and I are honored to serve your district. Any questions?
Let's go ahead and get back to gallery mode, and then we'll see if any of our board members have questions.
Okay.
1 second. Okay, here we go.
I don't
Yes,
know.
Member Sneed.
I guess I just want some clarification. You're giving us copies of all the applications, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's clarify for me, we're narrowing it down, or you're narrowing it down for us for what we're paying you?
Well, after we do all the reference checks and everything,
Right.
okay, we narrow it down for you. But we want you to see the applications, and we want you to see and to think, hey, this one looks, this gentleman looks really good, or this woman, not enough experience to really be the superintendent and handle everything in our district. So you get to really look at all those applications too. And when you do the interviews, they are also available as well. So you might do an interview with someone, and then you might want to look at that paperwork again and just, see what is it in there. You might have a question, but we will tell you when we give you our chart, we will have in there why we felt like this was a higher applicant than maybe somebody else. And in a reference check, if there's something negative, we will put what we saw so that that person wouldn't be considered. We give you all of those details.
So we're getting your notes too.
You are, but not before you look at the application.
Okay.
It's after, okay? All
And
right.
Could I just add something to that? I would add that in the district that I retired from, we had an inside candidate that the board really liked, but the search firm that was not the Cosco Group felt that that person wasn't ready and didn't bring that person forward. And the board really, really wanted that person to be interviewed. And honestly, the person that was not going to be recommended for an interview ended up getting the job because they did an outstanding job in the process. So we are very, very committed and determined that you should see all that information so you have the ability to make that decision.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Member Smith, you had some questions?
Yeah, it strikes me the recruiting period, I think it was July 20th through August 19th, just about a full month. Is that pretty typical? It seems kind of long to me, but
Actually, it usually takes a little bit longer for us to do that. But this is really a tight timeline. And this would be something that we would discuss with the board at the first meeting. And if you want to adjust it and we feel we could do a top-notch job, you know, we're open to that. That is something that we could do, Board Member Smith.
Yeah, I'm not pushing that. I'm just curious. Jan, you're from Burbank, and
I am.
how long ago did you leave Burbank?
I retired in June of 2015.
So you knew David James when he moved over there?
Pardon me?
You were familiar with David James when he moved over there to be CBO?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I did. And you know what? We actually took David from Temple City.
I know.
And he was a great CBO. I was the superintendent then. Yes. And I was the one that hired him. He was outstanding. I love that guy. He was just so good.
Okay.
That's not a negative though.
No, he is a great guy. Very, very good. You talked about an open door policy in terms of your mentoring superintendent, and I know that it can get excessive, and if it does, there's probably a problem. The problem's probably with us. But I mean, does it ever get extended where you feel like you're being forced to be the superintendent in lieu of the candidate?
I think Catherine would say the same answer as I'm going to give you, Tom, too. You know what? It's really your passion, you know, and when you become superintendent, you've been principal where you've had that door on a, you know, open shut all day long, you know, sometimes open and everybody just walks in. So you're really, you know, pretty sophisticated in how you handle that open door policy, that you can get your work done. And a lot of times, you know, you do your emails and you do your memos and the things that need to be done, your board agendas and that after everybody else goes home. I mean, really, all the superintendents that I know, that's really how they handle it, really.
Okay, fair enough. I guess that's it.
Are there other members have any questions?
I do.
Go ahead, Member Georgino.
Thank you. Yes, I was wondering, could you be specific about how you involve the staff and the unions in the recruitment effort?
Yes, you know what, and because it's summer, I would also, and we can talk about it. I've done them in person when I've done some searches, and I've done them also through Zoom, you know, or virtual. And one of the things that happens is a lot of times, you know, we will work, that is one thing that we will have to work with the superintendent's assistant and really do the email and advertise when we're going to have those stakeholders. But we will have, like, for example, the groups that is common is the teacher group, then you will have the classified group, you will have the administrators at the district office, you will have the classified folks at the district office as well. And then you will have parents, and sometimes we do one set of parents, stakeholders during the day, and sometimes at nighttime. With Zoom, it's easier to do one, but when we had in person, we would do one during the day and one at night. And then sometimes we meet with city folks, depending how closely the district works with the city folks, or if there's some community you know, agencies or groups that work closely with the district, we can do them as well. It's really up to the board to tell us who we meet with. And one of the things when we do our stakeholder report, we're going to say group 1, 7 people, group 2, 15 people, group 3, we do not say who they are. Okay, and we make sure our stakeholders know that that's anonymous and that's what they really like. The other thing I can tell you about the stakeholder group is my experience has been with the searches I have done, that when you announce who the superintendent is at that board meeting, the stakeholders have a great confidence in the board that they listen to what they said and they pick the right person. It's a powerful thing, actually, and nice to see.
So between the surveys and the stakeholder interviews, approximately how many people do you normally reach out to or have contact with?
Well, we actually, our expertise is with smaller districts, not the really big ones. But, it really depends. Like, for example, when I did a Mammoth one, and our night one at Mammoth, it's a small little town. Our night one with parents was really a big gathering. It was a nice big gathering. But then at Rosemead, when we did parents, we had a smaller gathering. So it really depends on the district, how many that we will have and how many stakeholder group that we do. But we put that out and try to get a good, gathering.
I would just add that if you put it all together, you're in contact with, city officials, with the chief of police, the different groups. If you put it all together, you are in contact with well over 100 people. You might have 15 to 20 people at a teacher group, a similar number at classified, parent typically even bigger. And then once you start doing administrators or city officials, it's smaller, but we want to cast the widest net we possibly can. We think that that's very, very important. It gives us very good information.
Okay, great. Also, I was wondering on your references and testimonials, are these all for superintendent searches, or is there one specific that we should focus on?
They're all superintendents.
Okay, so the references and the testimonials both.
Yes. And we also, I think we have some letters of recommendation too, if you would like that.
Oh, okay. And then just like what's one of your most recent searches?
Taft, I would say. We did Taft. We found a really good, I'm actually mentoring that superintendent right now. Very good superintendent that we got there. It's really going well. So that would be our last one. We did do Sierra Madre as well. But one of the things with Sierra Madre is, as you may know, at the end, when we went to select the superintendent, there were only 4 board members left because the president got fairly ill, seriously. And so she had to drop out. And so when it came to the final one, it was 2-2. And they couldn't decide, and they just announced the new superintendent, which was the sitting interim superintendent. So.
And that was San Marino.
That was Sierra Madre.
Or,
Oh, no, San Marino. I'm sorry, San
Marino.
Marino. I'm sorry. Lost my thought here. Yes, I
part of
apologize.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Anything else? The questions I had, you answered in your presentation.
Oh, well,
So
thank you
for that.
Thank you, Ms. Espinoza.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Hearing no further questions, I want to thank you so much for your time this evening and your presentation and your proposal. We will be considering this and then coming back next week on Wednesday to discuss it further and make a decision. And then thereafter, we will reach out and let you know.
Okay, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
And
Thank
good
you
luck
so
with this
much.
process.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay. So we will then move on to the discussion action portion of the agenda, and we do not have any. That's item 10. There are no actions in this meeting to take. Item 11, additional public comment on agendized and non-agendized items. Do we have any additional public comments?
No, we don't.
Board comments. Does anyone have any comments about our presentations tonight?
Just a question. So next Wednesday, we're going to meet at 6 o'clock to hopefully make a decision.
Yes, that's the plan.
Okay.
So if anybody has any questions that come up, during the week as you're assessing and you need information, just, send a one-way communication and or contact them directly, and you can get your question answered. If you'd like me to do that, I can facilitate that. Any other questions? And I'm thinking that we will do that one in person. So it'll be 6 o'clock at the boardroom in Temple City.
Okay.
And we welcome any public comments from the public. If there is any, if they watch this and have any thoughts of their own, we welcome those comments as well. Anything else? Okay, we will move to item number 13, which is adjournment. May I get a motion and a second to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Member Smith, I'll second that. Roll call vote, Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Bell,
Yes.
Member Georgino,
Yes.
Member Sneed,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So that motion passes 5-0, and we are adjourned, and we will be back in person next Wednesday. What's that date? The 13th?
Yes.
July 13th at 6 p.m.